Do you say, we have good data on the 1,000, it's not yet at 1 million in case you wanted 1 million? Are you going to say, let's still do it on another, let's wait another 6 months so we get another 1 million in here? Will you do that as a public health professional?
No, I would have said, allow the individual to still have a choice that's okay with 1,000 instead of a few million. Leave the person have the choice. Not force him to take it or else you're going to get out of the Marines, and you've been doing this for 14 years. Not force him to take it or else you have to quit your job as a nurse.
There's a public health
force versus
there's a
choice.
No.
Neil deGrasse Tyson went on the PBD podcast and got absolutely destroyed by PBD for his views on the vaccine and the COVID and whether or not people should be forced to take the COVID vaccine. Personally, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson lost this one. You can see in his body language. You can see it the way he tries to come up with excuses. But maybe you'll have a different opinion. Let's all watch how this goes, shall we?
Knew at the beginning of COVID to what we know today. What do we know about the vaccine today that we didn't know while we were all testing it in America, taking it? What have we learned now?
What do you mean testing it on America? There were tests before it was released.
9 months is not a long time to test.
No, but it was tested.
Yeah, but 9 months. The average is 30. The average is 5 to 10 years. I mean, 9 months is not enough.
Okay, so you have to say
test.
no. You have to ask. Hold on, it was tested in trials. Okay. By the way, I'm not claiming to be the expert on all this. I read all the same things you have, but I'm a scientist, so I read it as a scientist. Okay. There were trials. That's what the point of phase 1, 2, 3 trials are all about. They are tested enough to get data on how to then advise the larger population. Yes, it was tested. For you to say it wasn't tested is a gap between your awareness and understanding how things work and what actually happened. It was tested. If you want it to be tested on millions of people instead of thousands, you can put in for that. You can say, I don't want this unless it's millions. That's okay.
Totally fine with me.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
That's fine. But so based on that, do you say, let's keep testing it while the virus keeps spreading? Okay? Right. So this is the contest between the information you have available to you at that moment and what's going on outside the lab. People are dying. Hospitals are becoming overloaded. So, do you say, we have good data on the 1,000, it's not yet at 1 million in case you wanted 1 million? Are you going to say, let's still do it on another, let's wait another 6 months so we get another 1 million in here? Will you do that as a public health professional?
No, I would have said, allow the individual to still have a choice that's okay with 1,000 instead of a few million. Leave the person have the choice. Not force him to take it or else you're going to get out of the Marines, and you've been doing this for 14 years. Not force him to take it or else you have to quit your job as a nurse.
There's a public health
force versus
there's a
choice.
There's a public health contract that you have signed implicitly as a citizen of a country where in part we depend on each other for health, our wealth, our security, and the like. And that contract is, in the best scientific evidence available at the time, if you do not get vaccinated, you will put other people in this organization at risk, and that organization does not want to take that risk. So you do not have this job anymore if you decline it. So with any public health decision, there has to be a consequence to you not participating in that social contract.
Yeah, BS, like total BS. There's a lot of diseases that humans spread to each other, or a lot of just a lot of unhealthy things that humans do to each other or spread. And no point have we done lockdowns to this degree where it's not even just about jobs. It's about like you couldn't go to concerts, you couldn't go to any public places without showing a proof of a vaccination. It's insane for a disease that wasn't as serious as they were making it sound. During my early days on this channel, well, not my early days, but around this was going on my channel, I would bring up the stats about how COVID deaths were so low compared to infection. Like you would have, I don't know, millions of people infected, right? Or who had been infected. And then the deaths were like in the thousands, not even like in the 100,000s. It was like in the thousands, like worldwide. Like imagine like this disease was like spreading to like millions of people, right? And the deaths were like in the thousands. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't know when he became like a shill, but clearly he's shilling, and you could see it like how he's trying to like you could see in his body language, the shakiness of his hands. He's just trying to defend this, but because I guess it's his job or something, I don't know, to defend this. He relies on appeal to authority by saying, well, I'm a scientist, so I read it as a scientist. Even though he just admitted, like the line before, he just admitted that he's not an expert on this. He's not an expert on this, right? But because he's a scientist, he's a little bit more of an expert than you are. He reads it as a scientist about the trials and such. I don't know what happened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he's losing it.
Is it your job? In some cases it was. But no, we're not going to have the army bust into your home and force a needle into your shoulder. That's not going to happen.
Sorry, one more point. Yeah, you're not having... Oh, congratulations. You're not having the army bust in and shove a needle in your arm. But you might as well have at that point when you're taking people's livelihoods away because they don't want to get a shot. And meanwhile, too, like we had lockdowns, right? We're accommodating people who want to stay home if they don't feel safe going out, if they have health issues that make them a little bit more vulnerable. Like we were already accommodating those people by saying you could stay home, you could work from home, Uber Eats, digital movies, internet. Like we're already accommodating everybody, right? So you didn't have to go out if you didn't want to. So it's like this dangerous disease, right? Yet people were still choosing to go outside. Then people would choose to go outside, right? You had overweight people on carts, rolling around with masks, calling everybody out who wasn't wearing masks. You're endangering my health when you're already unhealthy. And by the way, like you don't have to go outside. Like if you're that scared, stay inside then. No one's forcing you to go outside. But yet you want to be able to go outside and do whatever you want. But yet you want others to stay home or to get vaccinated when they don't want to. It's this communist mindset about how we all have to do this or else. What happened to personal choice?
Pretty much did that.
Well, only put your job at risk, yes.
Yeah, 67% of Americans took the COVID. That's force. That's not a choice. That's a lot of force and coercing and pushing going on. But you can't go to the school unless you're vaccinated against mumps. I think that's bullshit.
That's a different country.
Yeah, but
okay, would you want a country?
No, America is supposed to be the one that offers the most freedom. That's what America is supposed to be.
Yeah, okay, so watch.
So for example, if you use that argument, somebody may say, well, freedom of choice. I want to choose what I want to do with the body. You're right.
What body?
If you want to get an abortion, it's your choice.
Your own body.
If you want to get an abortion, get an abortion. If I want to get the vaccine, I get to choose. So you can't force. If I can't force you to get an abortion, you shouldn't be able to force me to get
because it's not about you. It's about people you interact with, and that's the social contract of public health.
We don't even know if the vaccine worked or not at the time.
Yes, that's what the trials are, dude. That's why these trials. Are you missing data out there?
But let me ask you a question. Are we saying only one type of scientists are right?
No, we're saying that the system in place,
the 16,000 that signed that.
No. The system in place to test vaccines. Yeah. There's an entire system that's in place. That with review boards and all of it,
and the average
that's in place. Now you can say what you can say is, I have a better idea than all these review boards and all these agencies and the CDC. I have a better idea. Here's what you should do, and that would have made everything better. Okay, you can put forth that idea, but what I'm saying is, in a case where you can contaminate someone else, it's not about you. It's about the collective health.
You're assuming because somebody can take the vaccine, won't get COVID, which, by the way, I don't need to play the clips for you to see it, where everybody said, hey, if you get it, you're not going to get, if you take the vaccine, you're not going to get a Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden. I can give you Fauci. I can give you, and you've seen these clips before. It's not like you've never seen it before.
Yeah, what happened
They were wrong.
Hold on. So, the strain evolved, okay? So that the vaccine that prevented you from catching COVID was tuned to the variant of COVID at the time the vaccine was designed. Okay? Over time, there were variants that arose. The vaccine provided partial protection against the new variants, enough to keep you from dying statistically, and to basically keep you out of the hospital, allowing other people with more severe problems to get the hospital attention they required. And so then they would develop a subsequent, the booster and a subsequent mixture of the vaccine. This is what happens every year with a flu shot. They look at how the flu has evolved from one season to the next. And what's fortunate is Australia tends to get the variant of flu before we do, because they get their winter in our summer. And then, so we study that, have a forward projection for it. So these annual flu shots are precisely out of the same idea of how this occurs.
How long have those been tested, though? For years. COVID vaccine hasn't been tested for it. It was something we just came out. But let me.
I don't know what point you're making, other than it was tested. You might
9 months is not enough.
You might prefer. No, it's not a matter of time. It's a matter of how many. Yes, time matters, but the number of people is paramount. That's the most important thing. Okay, you don't test it on 10 people. You test it on as many people as you can.
Sure.
I think it was thousands, but
is it fair to say that some of the side effects we may not know for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? You can't, they can't say we know 100% the side effects 10 years from now. How are you going to know that?
Yeah, okay. So, no, of course, we can't know that.
So then all I'm saying is...
Watch. We can't know that.
Okay.
But watch.
I'm sorry. I'm watching this, and I'm kind of holding back my laughter so it doesn't pick up in the mic. But every time Neil deGrasse goes to answer, it's like he's trying to, make up some, news. Okay, yeah, sure, we're right about... But, all right. This reason right here, right? Okay, you hearing me? Okay, so, well, if you do this and then blah, blah, blah. And it's just so funny. You could tell he doesn't have no strong foundation, nothing strong to stand on. That's why he's acting like that. Meanwhile, PBD, he's cool, he's calm, because he actually has a good, valid argument. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't. So I don't know why he's going on with this charade that he's right when he's not. Other than, he has people that buy into this stuff as well. So he's continued selling these BS to the people that already buy it and want to see him, debate someone. And then afterward they go, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah, that PBD guy, he's dishonest, he's whatever. It was a waste of time. We all know Tyson was right. We all know that the COVID vaccine was great, and it was a good thing that we forced people. It was a good thing that we didn't let people force their COVID into our bodies, but we could force a vaccine that hadn't been tested for a long period of time into their body. Totally makes sense in my head. Totally not authoritarian. Tyson owned him, bro. PBD doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the only type of person that Neil deGrasse Tyson is appealing to right now. You can make the argument, too, for PBD, that he's only appealing to people like me and stuff. But still, even if I came in and I had no idea what these two were talking about, I would be yeah, I think PBD's on the right here. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think, is wrong. He's clearly standing on shaky ground.
So I have a whole chapter called Risk and Reward in the book, which tries to sensitize people to when they make a decision, what kind of risk are they absorbing relative to what they're rejecting, okay? And we're not very good at that, at probability and statistics or analyzing it. That's why TV commercials trying to sell you a product don't just show you data, they show a person speaking of the effectiveness of the product. A single person. I lost 50 pounds. The testimony of an individual should be irrelevant to you relative to the entire set of people who have done it. And you want to look at those statistics, but we're not good at that. And advertisers know that. So they show the testimony of an individual, which is hugely potent in a civilization where we don't think statistically, we think about eyewitness testimony on something. And somehow that is raised to a very high level of influence on our decisions. What I'm saying is, you're not your decision point is not, I'm not going to take the virus because 5 years, 10 years, I don't know what effect it's going to have.
Some may, though. Some may not be comfortable with
Let me finish the sentence.
If you're liking this video so far, like and subscribe. Let's get back to it.
Okay. So you can say, I don't want to take the virus because 5 or 10 years from now, there could be a side effect that we don't see.
Which is a possibility.
Hold on. I'm trying to make a statistical point here, okay? If you say, I don't want to take the virus because it hasn't been tested for 5 years and there could be some long-term side effect that worries me, okay? In that same moment, there's the risk factor of you getting COVID.
Sure.
Okay? Unvaccinated. At one point, 87% of everyone dying in the hospital of COVID was unvaccinated. Okay. So your risk choice is, I'm not going to take it because maybe somewhere down the line something will happen and we don't know what that is, or I will risk getting COVID, and if I get COVID, depending on your age and other things, there's a 3% chance of me dying in the hospital. That's your choice. Yes. Yes, but what I see people doing is they focus on one thing, and that's the foundation of their decision, rather than the other chance. And what happens if you get COVID? Now you get long COVID. Now you can have a taste buds for 2 years or whatever it is for long COVID.
Yeah.
You're on a ventilator in the hospital, possibly dying. Like what? Where is the? So I looked every day once a week. I looked at the statistics. How many people are getting COVID? What's the rate? What's the rate of hospitalization? What's the rate of deaths? Where is it by state?
I had to look at it. My board forced me to look. We're in the business that we have to look at.
They should,
yeah, of course,
because it's data.
Yeah, I agree.
On risk factors,
the risk of people's lives.
Okay,
for sure.
So nothing is ever zero risk. Yeah, there's a risk that you'll grow a third arm in 10 years because the virus mutates within you.
Should the individual not have the right to say, I don't want to take it because that
you don't have the right to contaminate someone else. So if you don't want to get shot,
who says that though? But who says that?
It's a social contract in a modern civilization.
I don't have
public health.
I don't have the right to contaminate someone else. What do you mean? Like, so what do I do? Stay home all day?
Yeah, or it's go to the beach. Yeah, you stay away from other old people who you stay away from people who are immune compromised.
So Neil, so for me, I'm asking you because I want to know how you process this as a guy that's well-read, smart.
I process the data, and the data.
We didn't have enough data, though.
No,
we didn't have enough data
at any given moment.
Yeah.
There's data for you to make a decision at any given moment.
Sure.
The data is constantly getting better and better.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, at any given moment, you say to yourself, okay, what happens to me if I get COVID? There's a chance I'll get long COVID. I'm certainly out for at least a week. And there's a chance I'll be hospitalized. And there's a chance I'll die. I take the vaccine. It mitigates this, basically entirely removing the chance that I'm going to die, essentially, at my age group. And I will accept the risk that in 5 years I'll grow a third arm. That's the kind of decision making that I make. Now, that's just for me, but on top of that, if my workplace says, we don't want you coming in unless you are vaccinated and you might lose your job, I would say, why? Oh, because you could contaminate someone else, introducing a problem in their own health profile. That's the public contract. That's why workers wash their hands in the restaurant bathrooms by law. Yes, they're required to do so because you don't want poop germs in your dinner that they're preparing, because our evidence showed that that's one of the greatest places you can spread disease is in a restaurant with a central kitchen. So Now, you want a world where you can do whatever you want and have it influence other people.
I'm not saying that.
There's a difference between washing your hands and getting a vaccine, like something injected to you that hasn't been long-term tested. Yeah, anyone could wash their hands. If all you had to do to go inside a restaurant during COVID was wash your hands, I'm sure a lot more people would do it. But, I mean, at a job, being required to wash your hands when you're working with food is different than asking someone to get a shot that we don't know the long-term effects of. And he keeps bringing up the example of, well, you could grow a third arm. I mean, we all know this, the chance of that happening is probably slim to none. But the real things that are happening ever since that was introduced is like young people started dying from like heart attacks and like heart problems. people who are otherwise healthy. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if that was all due to the vaccine or not, but there was a possibility that it was. There were people who worked in the morgues, like they would find these like worms, or like these like, not worms, but these like this long strands in like the arteries or whatever that connected to their heart, like these long protein strands or something. And they were saying like that was after the vaccines. Don't know if there's any causation to that. I remember at the time there was a whole trend going on where people were calling out athletes fainting and dying in the middle of the field out of nowhere. But that's a real possibility if there was causation there. Yeah, you're not going to grow a third arm, but you could probably die early of something with the heart because of the vaccines. That's a real issue. And was it worth dying of an early heart attack to prevent you from a disease that you had a small chance of dying of? Again, if you look at the stats during that time, worldwide, millions of people got COVID, hundreds of thousands died of it, like low hundreds. I remember at one point it was like a few million, like millions, and the death toll worldwide was like 300 something thousand. In the US alone, it was like, millions people had gotten it. It was like under 100,000 had died from it. So really, like, is it worth it getting a drug knowing now that it might potentially cause health problems when the risk of death from COVID wasn't even that high? Now, yes, 300,000 people worldwide is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of people. But is that enough to require lockdowns and mandatory vaccines? And if you want to talk about a social contract, well, again, people, if you're that afraid of getting COVID, don't go outside. You also have a choice to not go outside. But obviously, we're human beings. We're social creatures. We all want to go outside. We all want to go and see people and talk to people. So I get why people who are scared of COVID also want to go outside. But then you can't say, hey, you're protecting me from your germs or whatever, your disease, when you could just protect yourself and stay home. You can't do that. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson is obviously wrong here, but what do you guys think? Do you think he's correct, or do you agree with PBD? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys later.